I know everyone's starting out these videos like, oh my god, it's already December, it's almost 2022, but I'm gonna be quirky. I'm actually kind of excited for 2022 and very much ready for 2021 to end. Hi! So today we're going to very excitingly go through what I'm going to do in my reading journal for 2022. I'll pause here right now just to put in a small self-plug. If you haven't already seen my 2022 Techo Kaigi, where I go over all of the planners and journals that I plan to use in 2022, including this reading journal and how I set it up, I will link that up in the cards for you guys to go watch that. So yeah, for 2022, I will continue to use my traveler's notebook as my reading journal. In my 2022 Techo Kaigi, I kind of explained that at the time of filming, I hadn't quite figured out how I wanted to track my daily reading because I didn't want to change that up instead of doing what I have been doing. So I have finally figured that out, and now I can finally introduce you guys to my 2022 reading spreads. I thought there was a bird coming in through the window, which is like literally my greatest fear. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to try not to be too redundant with my 2022 Techo Kaigi, but here's my traveler's notebook. It's beat up. It's seen some shit in the last year, but it's been a good time. I have really enjoyed using this for my reading journal, so I will continue to use it in 2022. I've got my craft folder with stickers, and then I am using the same exact graph paper insert that I was using last year. If you recall, this is literally a spread that I set up a few months ago. Just an overview of how I did my 2021 spreads. I would write down the books that I read, the title, the author, the pages of my rating on one side of my reading log, and then on the other side I would pretty much try and log how many pages I read a day by using a mild liner to meet this little graph that I set up. I also tried tracking audiobooks by just checking off days of the week that I listen to an audiobook. I will be flipping through my 2021 reading journal when it is completed in January, so stay tuned for that. But for now, this is just how I set up most of my spreads. Actually, wait, that's how I set up all of my spreads. This is how I set up all of my spreads in 2021 in my reading journal. I also did TBR pages, but I don't think I'll be doing TBRs anymore. One of my reading goals for next year is to not set any TBRs. I don't want to restrict myself to reading in a month. I've pretty much done away with the monthly reading goal system. It's just going to be reading whatever the hell I want when I want in 2022, and I think that will definitely help me get out of reading slumps faster. I was noticing this trend in my reading logs where there's like this week about halfway through the month where I just stop reading. That pretty much correlates with when I have read pretty much everything on my TBR that I set for that month that I'm excited for, and I don't really want to read whatever else is on my TBR. Like, I get in the mood and I want to read something else. So I just force myself into this slump where I stop reading. So I'm going to stop doing that in 2022, and hopefully I can avoid these slumps. However, I do still want to track which books I read in this sort of format, so I will show you guys how I did that in a second. So another little plug, if you haven't already seen the video of me setting up these end of the year and beginning of the year spreads, I will link it up in the cards. These are my 2022 reading goals. I want to read 108 books, which is about 9 books a month. I will not be setting any TBRs, as I just said, and I am putting in a goal of reading 10 books before I buy one book. I will go more into this read 10, buy one goal in a second. So the first spreads that I have that I also set up in that video are my anticipated releases, not reads, spread, and my buddy reads spread. These are just books that are kind of on my radar that I want to check out when they are released or before they're released. Some of these I've already pre-ordered. And then I have my buddy read spread where I just record which books I buddy read with my friends because I love being able to look back on those kinds of memories. And then we have pretty much the only other spread I have in this journal, which is my 2022 running reading log. So like I said earlier, I wanted a way where I could write down all of the things that I used to write down in my reading log, but not on a monthly basis. So essentially I'm just gonna fill this out as the year goes. Again, I've got my title, author, and pages, and my rating. I also added a started and finished column, and that's just for me to kind of track how long it takes me to finish books. It generally doesn't take me more than a week to finish a book if I'm really into it, but you know, instead of tracking monthly, now I can track generally when I read something. So I can start something, say, on January 30th and finish it in February, and I don't really feel bad about not having finished it within the month of January. And I just have a key here. I don't really think I'm going to need that key after a while, so I just put it on a piece of washi tape to be able to take off when I'm ready. I've gone and highlighted about every 10 lines in this running log. That correlates with my goal of reading 10 books before I buy one book. I'm doing this to not only save some money, but to reduce my giant physical TBR. So essentially once I hit this line, once I have read a book that fills out this line, I will be able to buy myself one more book. I kind of goofed and I highlighted the last line at the bottom here, despite it, I think, only being 9 books. So I just left an extra line blank on the next pages. But yeah, I've set up 3 pages here. I don't anticipate to fill out all of these, but I thought just in case, why not? Another just in case, why not precaution I took was I didn't really fill out much else of these pages, but I hope to eventually fill out the pages with other things. For example, the only other spread I set up is a books to reread spread. I recently went through my shelves and found some books that I had either read physically and then bought physical copies of, so I've never read physically before, or just books that I read a while ago and I had the desire to read again. So I wrote them all down and hopefully I can get to them at some point next year. But I will be tracking it in this spread here at the back of the journal. And that's it for my reading log. Now this last insert is my reading journal, which is something that I am going to be very forgiving with myself on because I have a system in mind currently, but I don't know if it's going to work out, so bear with me if that changes and everything I'm about to say is totally moot in about 2 months. In case you didn't watch my 2022 Techo Kaigi, I'm using a blank monthly insert from Traveler's Notebook. And I've used this first page. Again, I haven't pasted this in, so it's not final or anything, but I did kind of make a little write-up for it. This is how I plan to use the monthly calendar. So I have a bunch of colored pens of like the same pen type. So for example, I have pretty much every single color of the vintage Zebra Sarasa clip pen. So I will use the multitude of colors to track my reading. I'll write the book title on the right side of the page, which I will show you in a second, in one color. And then as I read through the book and get up to certain percentages finished of the book, I will record those percentages on those days throughout the month. If I'm reading multiple books at once, I can use the different colored pens to track that as well. And obviously when I finish a book, I can use that color again for a different book. So I've just flipped here to the first month of 2022. The idea is that I will write down all of the titles here on this kind of blank space on the right side, and then as I read those books, I will put down the percentage complete I am with those books throughout the month. So let's say, for example, I read a bunch on the 2nd of January and I get 63% of the way through a book. I will find the color of the book on the right side here, and then I will write in the percentage finished in that color here on Sunday, because I have completed 60% of a book, let's say, on Sunday. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me, and hopefully it works out. It's something that I actually saw on Instagram people do. They just have a calendar and they have a little code where they write the title of the book on the bottom of the calendar, and then they post every single day, oh, I'm percent complete with this book, percent complete with this book, and percent complete with this book. So I'm hoping to do that kind of in an analog style throughout 2022. We'll see if it works out. I'll keep you guys updated. And that's actually it for my reading spread setup. It's gonna be a lot simpler this year because of a myriad of reasons, but mostly because I just could not keep up with the way I did my reading journal in 2021. In fact, again, if you guys hadn't noticed, I stopped doing those little spreads for each book. I got less creative with my monthly reading log spreads. I generally just don't have the same amount of energy that I used to have towards being creative. So I'm gonna be really forgiving towards myself and not force myself to do anything crazy right now. But if it comes up, I'll let you guys know and show you what I do in my reading journal. That's new and fun. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope this was informative for you in some way, or just interested you, inspired you, who knows. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.